Right. So, Zoe, thank you very much for agreeing to talk to me tonight for this series that I'm working on, which is called Inspirational Women. Before we start, disclaimer, Zoe and I do know each other. Zoe's brother is one of my friends. So I know a little bit about your story, but not anywhere near as much as hopefully I will do in a bit. So do you just want to give a really quick introduction to yourself?
Yeah, so I am a single mother of two. I'm a nurse, been qualified about 6 years now. I did forensic science before nursing, and I've never made it through a degree without getting pregnant.
So thank you. So from that, 2 degrees and 2 kids.
So I didn't finish my forensic science degree. I was a university dropout.
University dropout and a single mum.
Yeah.
Nice, just bringing the stigma super hard. Just
All of
down.
Overachieving, left, right, and centre.
Excellent. So I'll have to say, I don't know this story. What made you get into nursing?
So I was a very strange child. Like, this is probably going to come back to haunt me in future conversations we have. I used to go around the house on crutches that I didn't need. I had a mini fridge in my room to keep my medical supplies in. I blame my mum for just solidly making me watch Casualty and Holby City when I was growing up. So I'd always wanted to do something medical. But then at about 18, I just watched too much CSI and decided I was going to go off and do forensic science instead. Then I came back to Boston, obviously, so I got pregnant, so I dropped out of uni. And Boston, basically, everybody that doesn't know what they want to do goes and does nursing. So.
Is that right? That's is that because there's a big nursing college or something in Boston, or?
Yeah, so there's a huge hospital, and at that time you could do your training at Boston, but through the University of Nottingham. So it was an ongoing joke when anybody who's still in Boston doesn't know what they want to do, goes and does nursing.
The forensic science thing, you dropped out, like you said, you fell pregnant with, I always forget the two, Ellie first, yeah. So you left uni.
Mm-hmm.
But then when you got pregnant with Albert, you stayed at uni and finished your nursing degree.
Yeah, so I had a year out in the middle of my nursing degree to have Alex, and then went back and finished it.
Ellie and Albert are both trudging off to school every single day. You're sending them off. I mean, that's got to feel weird, isn't it? When everyone else's kids are at home, everyone else has got their themselves and their loved ones in this nice little protective bubble. You're going off to work to try and protect random people, and you have to send your kids off to school.
Yeah, obviously, so everyone's always oh, nursing's a selfless profession, nurses are amazing, they're heroes, blah, blah, blah. But behind every, selfless nurse, there's selfless family as well. There's, selfless kids who, even before, obviously, the coronavirus pandemic, they missed out on me being at school trips because I'm on a night shift. They missed out on me going to, concerts and things that they've done, or they're I'm sorry, we can't do that today because mummy's knackered because I've done a 13-hour shift. Or obviously the girls have it from both sides of the family as well because of their dad too. But they're just resilient little kids. I think any child of a nurse or doctor or any frontline NHS staff, they don't know any different. They're used to giving up part of their parent for other people essentially. Yeah. And then we ask that of them, don't we? We're well, mummy's got to go to work, or daddy's got to go to work, or I can't do this because X, Y, Z. And they just rise to the challenge, don't they? So it must be. It's both a blessing and a curse for them, because obviously it's hard for them to understand why can't you stay at home like my other friends, parents are staying at home. But as well, in the grand scheme of things, not a lot's changed for them. I still go to work, they still go to school. So there hasn't been this big upheaval that there has been for other families that might invoke anxiety in some kids. They've still got their norm, which is good for them.
Yeah, and you said that because we've chatted a little bit about it and stuff before this call, and you said that for the most part they've been fairly upbeat and okay, but they've had 1 or 2 days that have just been this is shit, we don't like it, what's going on, mum? And that's got to be super hard because you're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. You've got a job to do, you want to do it, like you said, you're desperate to get into that line of work. Yeah. seeing your kids kind of not really understanding what's going on got to be heartbreaking at times.
Yeah, so there was only like one time where like a nurse that works at our local hospital unfortunately died, and like obviously every Thursday me and the kids go out and clap, and that's really nice, like, and then like, oh, they're clapping for you, mummy, and I'm like, oh, well, they're clapping for you too, she has to go to school, and that means I can go to work and things like that. But one particular Thursday we were watching this like ceremony at the local hospital for this nurse that had died, and Ellie, my eldest, she's 10, she just burst into tears. She was like, I don't want you to die. And I, of course, was like, well, I'm not going to die. Everything will be fine. And then, as a joke, because I'm not really a conventional parent, I was like, well, if mummy does die, you'll get 30 grand each. Like, she was like, oh, I want money. I just want you. Like,
oh my God.
So obviously that's quite hard to explain to them, like, because obviously the risk in my eyes isn't that big. Like, the likelihood of me getting it and dying is relatively slim, and obviously the benefit of me going to work is that, you know, patients get care, and you know, the wheels keep turning. But to a child, you know, any thought that your parent could potentially be going to work to do a job that is unsafe or puts them at risk is massive, isn't it? Like, and then obviously as a parent, I don't want to bring anything home to my children or my family that could potentially cause harm to them, you know.
I think, you know, if you were gonna have it, you'd have it already, because people that are watching, you are the designated COVID nurse, is that right?
Yeah. So well, there's two of us, but we only have two nurses. So, you know, it's me 50% of the week, and it's my colleague the other 50% of the week. So we're not a big team, so we can't, you know, kind of like rotate or anything like that. We do come into contact with it, maybe not as much, because obviously I work at a GP surgery. Not quite as like frontline as some of my incredible colleagues that work in the hospital. But we do come into contact with it, and it's caused, you know, some major decisions for particularly some of my colleagues that do work at the hospital. You know, one of my best friends hasn't seen her daughter for 2 weeks because she's terrified of taking it home to her. She's a single mum as well. Her mum's looking after the daughter, and her mum's elderly. So you're stuck between a rock and a hard place, aren't you? Like.
And it's difficult, isn't it? Because we're on, for those nobody other than us would know, we're on like a group chat thing. So we have your brother on there, my sister on there, my wife on there, and we all kind of chat and laugh. And you make a joke out of the fact you're in this kind of fucked up situation where, you know, you're in the corona van, as you call it, where you get the triage stuff coming through, and it's, you know, we all have a bit of a laugh about it. But when you step back and you take that kind of lens of humor away, it's a weird situation that you and all your kind of colleagues find yourselves in. And I think we all, as a nation, sort of felt like, wow, maybe this is going to change the way that frontline carers are kind of viewed, not by us necessarily, the people, but by the powers that be, and maybe they'll get a higher status or better remuneration or more value. And then we see a few days ago that actually they're talking about a pay freeze for nurses. And I'm not trying to rile you up, because I know you must have been stewing about this big time, but it made me angry. So that must just pissed you off so much when you saw about that.
Yeah, like, and as like heartwarming as it is, like the clap for carers is incredible. Like, it's such a lovely, like, it's made me well up, and I don't often feel emotion. But like, clapping doesn't pay my bills, like, it doesn't feed my children. Like, so realistically, nurses have taken a pay cut because, you know, obviously we've only had a 1% pay increase for like the last 5 years, up until very recently. So we've taken a pay cut. So then to be like, well, you're going to get a pay freeze as well, when people have been furloughed, you know, through no fault of their own, they've been furloughed, but they're getting up to £2,500 a month to be furloughed, to stay at home, to do nothing, to stay safe, to be at home with their wives, their partners, their families, their children. And I'm not getting paid that. But I don't clear £2,500 a month to go to work, and, you know, to potentially be put at risk and to put my family at risk, which is fine. I've chosen this career, you know, I've chosen that, you know, it has benefits that aren't financial. But then to be like, oh, well, actually, yeah, people that work at Morrison's and Tesco's, they're getting a 10 to 15% bonus for working through coronavirus. Or like in Wales, they're all getting a £500 bonus for working through coronavirus. So in one hand, you're being told, oh, you're all heroes, like, and everybody should get extra, etc., etc. And then in the other, they're like, but you're not quite heroic enough to get a pay like rise.
It's absolute madness. And you know, just to spell that out, something you just said there, you were quite right when you said people that are furloughed, you know, it's through no fault of their own, and those people are worried about redundancy and stuff as well. But there are people being paid up to £2,500 a month for whatever job they were doing. Some of them might have been critically important. Some of them might have been absolutely, you know, absolutely useless to a wider society.
Coffee barrister.
Whatever, yeah. And they're getting £2,500 a month or up to. You currently don't clear that in a month, which is shocking to me anyway. You know, regardless of the situation,
yeah,
you're going back to work, or you're staying in work to potentially save lives, putting yourself and your immediate family in a little bit more harm than you're comfortable with. Rishi's just cut a check for £350 billion to bail out the country and the wider economy, which was probably a sensible thing to do. Much as I'm not a fan of the overall party policies, and yet they say to the nurses and the frontline medical professionals, "You're getting shit," and it just seems it's such a betrayal.
It's so underhand. I think it feels very underhand. Like, to be like, you're getting, not even to be like, oh, you're only going to get you 1% or whatever. Like, but you actually get a pay freeze. Like, there is no way in which that you can earn more money. Like, and everything's still got to be paid. Like, I've still got a mortgage to pay. I've still got, you know, I've still got children to feed. Still got clubs to pay for, gas, electric, things like that. That's not going to go away because there's a recession. Like,
it's crazy, isn't it? And I'm at risk of, I know you and I share fairly similar political views, and you know, politics is a very divisive subject, but I do feel like the handling of this and the PR of this has been so superficial. Like you said, they're happy to, it wasn't a government initiative to do clap for carers, it was just a person, wasn't it? They just said, oh, this would be a nice thing to do. Now everyone up and down the country is doing it. Our road is lined with people banging their pots and pans. Someone was waving like an old school football rattle. It's lovely, like you said. It's a really beautiful sentiment. The government must be absolutely rolling their hands, like rubbing their hands together, because that's just generating goodwill.
Yeah.
That actually doesn't do anything. Like you said, it feels nice on a Thursday night, but it doesn't do anything tangible for people that are actually going out and putting their lives on the line. And the government are happy just to go, yeah, clap for carers, Thursday night, job done, but that's what you're getting.
And if you want any more, then, you know, stop being so selfish. People clap for you every night at 8. What more do you want?
I know, it's crazy. And on that subject, this again, I don't want this to be just like a big long rant, but you were like overpaid a nominal sum at the end of last year when you changed roles or something. You were overpaid a nominal sum, and now you're essentially being hounded by like the NHS bailiffs to pay back this paltry sum, and you're getting like threatening letters from an NHS trust. Or if I get that vernacular wrong, please correct me. But is that the gist of it?
Yeah, so I got overpaid because I was on a fixed term contract, but they forgot to terminate my contract. So I pointed it out to them, ended up getting overpaid by not a great deal, like no huge sum of money. And then they decided that during the coronavirus pandemic would be a fantastic time to pursue me for this money. Which begs the question, somebody in an office somewhere is being paid during the pandemic to still send me 4 letters saying that I owe them money. Like, do they not have something more productive they could be doing with their time? But yeah, 4 letters I received saying that I owed them this money. Obviously don't have a great deal of spare money, being like a nurse, single mum too, and still going to work and everything like that. And they just thought it would be a fantastic time, you know, during this outbreak when everything's awful as it is and nobody has any financial security, regardless of if you're still going to work or anything like that. Obviously, the economy is in tatters, for want of a better word, and they just kept hounding me for money. Even when I said I couldn't pay it, they were like, "Well, you still need to pay it." They said they were going to get external debt collection agencies involved. So they were going to pay, obviously, a fee for that to get this money back. which I would imagine the fee would probably cover about a quarter of the money that I owed, if not more.
Yeah.
And I just, again, it's just in poor taste, isn't it? Like the pay rise is like in poor taste, that we're going to get a pay freeze. Like pursuing me for money at a time like this is, again, in poor taste. Like you don't come into it for the money, but it just feels like you're constantly being kicked when you're already down.
Yeah. And I think, I don't know, I have no idea. I don't know whether there was some perception that nurses are nurses because they sort of fell into it, or there was nothing else they could do, which seems ridiculous to me. You have to be very intelligent to be a nurse. It's a difficult degree. It's not like media studies or something. It's a proper degree. And there are countless other things that you could do with that intelligence, with that drive and application. You've chosen to do something that benefits society, and yet the idiocy and insensitivity, not just of the government, but of individuals, bureaucratic individuals, looking at your name on a spreadsheet and going, "Oh, she owes us 100 quid. Let's send her threatening letters while she's in the midst of working frontline in an epidemic." It's insane. And what they could be doing is making sure that you've actually got PPE that's in,
or that unpaid overtime that we do. Like I could just put in for that.
Yeah. And hope to God you're not going to pay that. Like, please tell me. Let's go on record now. You're not paying that money back.
I haven't paid it yet.
Don't pay it. For God's sake, don't pay it. Everyone is watching. You can pay it off for Zoe if you want, but Zoe is not paying that money off.
And they haven't sent the bailiffs around yet either. I'll do a live stream if they do.
Yeah, good. But just put a big thing on the door, like saying, with a picture of your Corona van and a picture of you standing next to it, and be like, "This is my daily office. Are you sure you want to come in and touch all my stuff and breathe in my air and see how they feel?"
Yeah, and I'll be like, "And if you have any queries, you can ring my Corona phone."
Yeah, the COVID phone. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. So this is something that you actually recorded, shared with us all for comedy purposes, but I'd actually like to watch it with you because it's super crazy. So this is the first day. It's kind of 2 videos this, so we'll do the first one. This is you with face masks.
Yeah.
And you can see on there there's a nice little label. So we'll run this back to the beginning. There's a nice little label, fluid resistant, fog free. Yeah, sounds good. June
2021. Yeah. Life's good.
Happy days, all is well, but there's a thumb doing something there. Well, what's that thumb doing? Let's find out. So this is part 2 in the same video series, and it looks like some fairly substantial thumb work has taken place in between.
It's alcohol wipes.
Alcohol wipes. They're a precious resource, and you're using it scraping off a label. But let's see why. Let's see what you were trying to reveal.
Oh!
What is it?
What's the actual date?
Like a scratch card. Oh!
Out of date. 2016. So just like nearly 4 years out of date.
4 years out of date. Oh dear, oh dear. No, please. Let's what was you feeling when you scratched that little beauty off?
So we had been told that some of the masks was out of date.
Right.
So we went away and we were like, "Oh, right, we'll check our own." Like I say, saw something on TikTok where somebody else had done something very similar. Then went to like management and we're like, "Our masks are out of date." And apparently, the central supply chain for the NHS somebody had tested them and said that it was okay because you could use them for somebody had tested their integrity and said you can use them for another 2 years. Don't know about you, but I probably wouldn't use a condom that was out of date, and someone said it's all right, mate, you probably won't have a baby.
Yeah, no, like the manufacturers put that date on there for a reason.
Yeah.
Because I have this thing with tins, like tin food. My theory about tin food is you can eat that shit forever. If the tin's intact, it's all good. I'm not sure I want to take the risk with like an anti-pathogen mask though. I'm not,
But if that's the case as well, so like if we know they're out of date and they've been tested and they're like, "Oh yeah, it's cool. Why put a sticky label over the top of the out of date of the date?"
Hide.
Yeah, which was our feeling. Like, don't lie to us. Like, if you're giving us out of date equipment, at least let us know it's out of date, so then we can make a conscious decision whether we use it or not.
Then the shoddily applied and obviously stuck on little label with the correct date on there. It doesn't inspire confidence, does it?
No, it like you have to laugh because what else are you gonna like it is funny, like somebody's job was to sit and stick stickers over the top of the expiry date, like, and it's so badly done. Like, surely you could just manufacture another box with a different expiry date on. Like, how did you not think we would realise?
I like to think they moistened those labels with their own tears of shame at what they were doing before they applied each one. Because that is a horrible job, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I've just killed another nurse. Oh, there we go. So that's a terribly off-colour joke. But like, what a job. You're sticking 5 years of extra life on those masks and just putting them out.
So the joke of the matter was, so the Public Health England said, oh, you're not allowed to use things that people donate. So you're not allowed to use like masks that people have donated, or, you know, anything that people donate. So if they donate alcohol gel or anything like that, you're not allowed to use it because it hasn't been tested by the central supply chain. But then the central supply chain is sending out of date masks. And also, if you've got nothing, you're going to use whatever you can get your hands on, aren't you? Like, if someone's firing an arrow at you and there's a shield there, you're not going to be like, oh no, I'll just take the arrow because that shield hasn't come from, you know, a central supply chain.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's bizarre, isn't it? They're not. I mean, I assume, I hope that things are better now than they were at the outset, but it was critically low. It's still shit, is it? It's still
like, so I think you have to have a day or less. This may not be absolutely correct, but you have to have about a day or less, like, supplies to be able to get more.
Wow. That's kind of fun, isn't it? What if a postie calls in sick? Like, that's ridiculous.
Well, we have to shut, so I'm kind of like, come on, let's run out.
Unbelievable. You know, you mentioned at the start, you're a single mum. I've met your girls, I think twice maybe, actually. I can't remember if they were there.
Grumpy.
Both times, but they're super cool. Like, they're really, really lovely kids, and clearly you guys have got a great relationship. When you separated from your husband and you were a single mum, did you feel, because a lot of women that I've spoken to have been single parents, and a lot of them have reflected on this idea of feeling like their self-worth was impacted by that, or they felt there was stigma associated with that, or they were being judged by other people, whatever it was, there was definitely a negative self-image that was being generated by that. Did you feel the same thing?
Yeah, so I kind of had it from two angles as well, because I was 18 when I got pregnant with Ellie, so I was only 19 when I had her. So even though I was like still with the dad at that time, you get a lot of stick for being a young parent as well. So a lot of stick. Like, people would come up to me in Asda and be like, "Oh, you're buying that with your dole money." I remember when I went to my employer at the time, and I was like, "Oh, I'm pregnant." Like, and when you fall pregnant as a teenager, you have to not only announce to people that you're pregnant, but you also have to announce that you're going to keep the baby, because
nice.
People don't automatically assume that. So I was like, I'm pregnant, I'm going to keep the baby. I said to my employer, predominantly male workplace, I'd like to point out, just because of the nature of the work. And I remember this maybe 20-year-old, I would say, lad that was in the staff room at the same time, like, stood up, was like visibly angry at the fact that I'd just told my boss that I was pregnant, and he was like, "Well, that's your life over then," and like just stormed out the staff room.
What a bizarre escapade! Like, why was he angry?
And like, I don't know, like, but I was like, if I was a 24-year-old woman telling my boss that, you know, at an age that it is socially acceptable to be pregnant, you wouldn't have done that. There's nowhere on earth that you would have behaved in that manner. Like,
and would he have behaved in that manner? I mean, it's impossible for you to say, but it strikes me as unlikely he'd have behaved in that manner if it was an 18-year-old, 19-year-old young man standing up and saying the same thing.
Yeah.
He might have felt it. Would he have felt empowered to make that statement to a male colleague in the same way? Who knows?
Probably not. So yeah, you get a lot of stick for being a young parent. And then again, like, so I was quite young when I got divorced. I had 2 children by 21. I was married and divorced by 24. Overachiever. I can embrace death now. I've done it all.
You can be married and divorced again by the time you're 35.
Yeah, it'll be fine. Chance would be a fine thing. But yeah, so to be divorced at 24, and on your own with, you know, 2 kids. So it's something that always struck me as being wildly inappropriate and not a nice comment to make to a single mum of 2. We were at the swimming pool one day, and like the receptionist was there trying to book some swimming lessons for the girls. She's like, oh, have you got their cards or whatever? And I said, oh no, I'm really sorry, I haven't got the cards. And she went, well, where are they? I went, oh, their dad's got them. And she went, well, where's their dad? And I was like, don't know, probably at home with his girlfriend. Like, they wouldn't make that comment to a single dad, would they? You wouldn't be like, oh, well, where's their mum? Single dads are kind of held up, in my opinion. Don't get me wrong, being a single dad is equally as hard as being a single mum. Being any single parent at any point in your life is hard work. Like, and I have full respect for anybody that
it's hard work being a parent with another parent helping you out. Like, doing it on your own. I've got huge respect for single parents of any gender. But carry on. Yeah,
Alexa helps. I'm like, Alexa, read a bedtime story, please. She is the second parent in our house. So, you know, she wouldn't have said that to a dad. Like, a single dad is seen as like a
hero or something.
A hero, yeah. It's like, oh my God, because they don't have to do that. They don't have to take responsibility for that child. Like, whereas I think the maternal role is to take responsibility for the child, isn't it? So it's like, oh, single mum, she obviously did something wrong in her life to lose the male in her life.
Isn't that weird? Yeah, isn't that bizarre that that's the view we take of it?
Yeah. And other women as well are like, you would think, like, in my opinion, women should lift women. Like, I have some incredible friends that are single mums, like, and they're so lovely, like, and they're so supportive. And I'm really lucky. Obviously, I have a really good support network around me and everything like that. But other women, well, I would say every single bad comment that I've had about being a young or a single mum, other than that one in the staff room, has come from females.
So, any women watching this, if you've got anyone in your family who's a young single mum, just give them a fucking break, will you? Be nice to them.
Be nice.
And she's super awesome, and their kids are super lovely, so don't be a dick about it.
Yeah.
But it's bizarre, because I, like everyone, have my own biases, and I'm trying, I think, since I had the idea to do this series, my wife, Rebecca, you know, gave me the idea to do the series. I've been trying to, at the same time, sort of analyse my own unconscious biases a little bit. I want to be, I don't know, I want to be able to approach women with as much of a view of equality and an egalitarian approach to them and to their place in society. But I obviously have my own biases as well. And I find that when I hear about a couple that's separated, if the mother has left, like if a mother leaves her children,
yeah,
it shocks me more than if a man leaves his children, than a father leaves his children.
Yeah.
And I don't know why that is. Like, it shouldn't. It's no worse a crime. It's no worse a moral offence for a mother to leave her children than for a father to leave his children. But it seems more shocking to me, and it annoys me that my immediate emotions have that kind of slanting in one direction. But clearly, you know, I'm trying to be aware of my own biases. A lot of people don't have as many as me. Some people are absolutely unaware of their biases. But it's clear that there's still more expectation on women to be better parents, better caregivers, you know, all things, working and still being a good mum at the same time. I think it still fucks me off so much when I'm looking after the kids for whatever reason. Becky's doing something else. People say, "Oh, you're babysitting."
Yeah.
It's like, no, piss off. I'm not. I'm just a dad. Like, they're just my kids. It's so.
They are half mine, and I'm having them, like, because I enjoy having them, and that is part of my job role as a parent. Like,
yeah, exactly.
It's difficult because it is ingrained, like, for whatever reason, it's ingrained in everybody. It's like, you know, if a serial killer is a man, like, everyone's like, oh yeah, that's sad, but, you know, it was a man or whatever. If a serial killer is a woman, it's immediately worse, because you're supposed to have this maternal figure, you're supposed to care and love and nurture.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's automatically worse if a woman does it than if a man does it.
Do you think, does feminism mean, like, what does it mean to you? Do you think it's relevant to your daily existence? Is the movement, is the Me Too movement or any of that thing, is it making a tangible difference to how men treat you, perceive you, act around you, or is it just something that happens in Hollywood and has no tangible bearing on your day-to-day life?
I think there's undertones of like gender equality, not even so much feminism, but there's undertones of gender equality everywhere we go, isn't there? Like, it's well known within nursing. I remember at least 2 or 3 people pointing out to me that male nurses progress up the career ladder far quicker than female nurses. And staff would be like, oh, well, it's because they're not bitchy, so they don't engage in workplace politics, so that's why they progress quicker than female nurses, which obviously is doing the stereotype that every female nurse is bitchy and is a gossip, you know. But it's there's undertones in everything, isn't there? But I wouldn't. It's not something that I particularly overly aware or conscious of, I would say, but more so because I think when I fell pregnant at 18, everyone was like, well, life's going to be hard, you're never going to do this, you're never going to do that, you're never going to, people were like, oh, you're never going to be able to go and get a degree, you're never going to be able to. So I've kind of, this sounds like kind of very self-pitying or, you know, self-glorifying, but I've always been up against it continually, and I've been like, you know, if I want to go and do a degree, I'll go and do a degree, and I'll do it while I've got the kids, like, because why shouldn't I? What am I meant to do? Because I had a child at 18, I'm just going to roll over and not pursue anything, not do anything for myself at all or anything like that. But people are very often are like, oh, well, you're not a typical, you know, you're not a typical single mum, or you're not a typical teen mum, like, but I just like think, why shouldn't, you know, you be able to go out and pursue something or do whatever you want to do? Why should there be barriers put in place because of what society deems to be the norm, or what society thinks you should go and do? Like, be that because of your gender, because of, you know, your ethnic minority, because of your socio-economic background. Like, we're all human beings at the end of the day, and we're all capable of the exact same things. Like, some of us might have to work a little bit harder at it, you know. We're not all Albert Einstein, you know, we're not all going to roll into a quantum physics degree, but if we all wanted to do a quantum physics degree and we applied ourselves, we could all eventually get a quantum physics degree. It's not beyond the realms of possibility. What I find in my personal workplace setting is there is still, to this day, this kind of belief that all doctors are male and all nurses are female.
Yeah.
And even myself at times, I've been like, oh, the doctor, he'll give you a call, because that is
It's ingrained.
Yeah, that's the preset, is that the doctor is male. And we have some fantastic female GPs, like absolutely brilliant, like no reason why they're not as good, if not better, than their male counterparts. We have some amazing male GPs, but they're still, the like mindset is, well, doctors are male and nurses are female.
But it's like it's not even a riddle. It's like a silly play on words. But years ago, I heard it, like 20 years ago, like a man and his son are in a terrible car accident, and they're rushed to hospital. And the son the father is taken off one way, and the son's taken off another way, and he's put on the operating table. And the surgeon comes in to start to work and says, "Oh, I can't operate on this patient. He's my son. What's going on?" And everyone's like, well, maybe the dad got better really quickly, and they're like, maybe the dad, you know, maybe it's his stepdad, and it's like, no, the surgeon is his mother. And it takes people such a long time to come to that. I think maybe now it's so common, it's such a well-worn trope that people would just go, oh, yeah, well, I've heard it before. But it's one of those things that it takes people a lot of time to get to the idea that it might actually be his mum doing that. Well, not all people. Some people never get it. You have to point out to them.
And the flip side of that coin is I have quite a few good friends who are male nurses. So they're men who've decided to go into nursing, and I'll be like, oh, the nurse is coming, and they're like, where? And I'm like, that is your nurse, that man. Like, men can be nurses too. Like, and maybe that is because of obviously the maternal things as well. Like, nurses are seen as caregivers. You know, we're all apparently lovely and caring and empathetic and wonderful, although sometimes our group chat will have people believe otherwise, but maybe that's because men aren't, you know, stereotyped into that role of caring and, you know, wanting to look after other people and being empathetic. But you know, there is a flip side to it as well. It's not always the women that get, you know, the raw side of the gender equality and things like that. Like, a lot of male nurses get a lot of, like, And some patients are horrible to them. They're like, but you're a man.
And again, this might be controversial, but I think I consider myself a feminist. Like, first and foremost, I think women should get the same opportunities as men. And in my mind, that means I'm a feminist. If occasionally that means women need a bit of a step up, maybe above and beyond men, and this is where you get into the positive discrimination debate, I think sometimes it's necessary. I think it's justified to correct historic wrongs. But I also see that a big part of the problem about women getting equality is some women who are just not allies to other women. They don't want to help other women out. They don't, when a woman stands up and says, I've been discriminated against, I've been harassed, I've been inappropriately approached, their response is sometimes, well, it's never happened to me.
Yeah.
With the inference being, say you're making it up. It's not a real thing. And I just find that baffling. Like, it frustrates me when I see men being misogynistic and sort of coming with this Neanderthal mindset. When I see women hindering other women and their progression into a more equal environment, it again, maybe this is wrong, maybe it shouldn't be any more shocking to me, but it just is. It just annoys me even more.
Yeah, and then I think maybe some of that, like, is it because they're bitter about the fact that they had to have that journey? So is it because they're bitter, like, I had to work 10 times harder than the like male equivalent to get to where I am, so why should you all of a sudden have an easier like trip to the top, so to speak? Like, why should I make life easier for you? If I've had to work super hard, you should have to work super hard too. Like, and that's just, unfortunately, that is just some people's human nature, isn't it? Like, we don't lose anything by helping other people. Like, it's not like your job's going to be at risk, or you're not personally going to be any less of a person by helping somebody out, are you?
Yeah, it's like there's a meme that flies around every now and again, and it's something like rights aren't the more rights you give to other people, it doesn't take rights away from you. It's not like pie or something like that. And it's so true. This idea that you're going to be diminished in some way if you give other people access to things that you've got access to.
Yeah,
it's just very strange. But I think it's very easy for us to, especially given some of the bizarre, insensitive and downright baffling decisions that we see getting taken, to become sort of mired in negativity and sort of downbeat approach. But I've seen some good stuff. So I've seen some positive initiatives, and I've seen some green shoots of sort of community resurgence that perhaps weren't there before, and very literal green shoots, walking around in the woods and stuff. You see animals are kind of encroaching back on traditionally sort of human territory, and I absolutely love that. But is there anything that you think you've seen either in your life or in the wider society that you would take away as a positive from what's going on?
What, from the coronavirus pandemic?
Yeah, just what we're going through at the moment.
So I think it's brought out this wonderful sense of community, hasn't it? Like, so I've always said, in particular, sorry to bring it back to nursing, I know I'm banging the same drum, but with nursing and with life as such, it's never the big moments that you think are gonna make a difference. So it's never, getting somebody back from a cardiac arrest, as wonderful as that is. Like, that's not the big moments that you remember. It's all the tiny little things that you do. It's been getting someone in for a blood test and saying, oh, do you know what? Have you got enough food at home? Is your heating on? And then being like, actually, no, I haven't got enough food. Like, it's the tiny little things like that. It's the arm around the shoulder, although obviously not at the minute. When somebody's upset, or the holding of the hand, like, they're the moments that people will take away that make the absolute biggest impact on their life, and it's not going to be as wonderful as the development of a vaccine and everything like that is, and as wonderful as it is that it's shone a light on the UK pharmaceutical industry, and that we do have our own resources that we can use. We don't have to rely completely on America and, heaven forbid, Donald Trump. Like, it's shone a light on the UK, we're independent, everything like that, but it's the little tiny things. It's like the clapping at 8 o'clock that doesn't cost anything. That's cost the UK absolutely nothing. Like, and it just shows this wonderful side of human nature, doesn't it? Like, people do want to help, and people will come together, and it's just sad that sometimes it takes something like a global pandemic or a crisis to bring out the best in people. But there is good, if you nurses always look for the good, and if you look for the good, there is always some good there in every situation. There's people that are going out their way to help neighbours. You know, there's people that are walking dogs, like little things. Like if I'm queuing at the supermarket, I don't use the NHS fast lane. Like I can't live with that. No. But if I'm queuing at, say, the like local shop and I've got my work uniform on, people are like, "Oh, you go in front, you go in front." Like, so that's lovely, isn't it? Like, as much as the government and, you know, public health and everything like that are failing nursing and key workers, doctors, everybody, like, at least, you know, there is people out there and there is a sense of community that is supporting everything, keeping us going, you know.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think government typically it's in government's interest for people to believe that people are inherently selfish and unkind and cruel, because then we feel like we desperately need government to plug that gap between people going feral and knocking our door down and stealing all our food. But it's just not true. I think you know, even people that on the face of it have made some interesting, you know, political decisions, or, you know, put their ex in what in my mind would be a strange box in the polling booth, and they voted for some things which to me seem quite selfish and quite narrow-minded. They're probably, some of those people are still the people saying, "Oh, pop in front of me in the queue because you're a nurse." So they're inherently, in a day-to-day capacity, they can be inherently kind and generous and sensitive people, but somehow we've been sort of whipped into this frenzy of collective cruelty and selfishness. I don't really know how that happens. It's very strange to me, but I hope that breaking down of some of the local barriers and some of the community barriers, I hope that persists, because I genuinely think it's the only way we're going to recover from this particular crisis, is with people at a local level pulling together and kind of pulling us out of it. Because I don't think centralised government, I'm getting very political here, I don't think centralised government is necessarily the answer.
Like, we don't need to worry about what's happening in the House of Lords to know if we're going to get bread or not, do we? Like,
exactly.
We can go to the shop and get a loaf for our neighbour, can't we?
Yeah.
And fight over some toilet roll.
Yeah. And what's really sort of surprised me is how, you know, I know that people, like my dad has got emphysema, so he had like a government arranged food box or something gets dropped off to him once a week. But overwhelmingly more useful have been the big four supermarkets. So they've coordinated a fantastic response in the main for people that are vulnerable, can't get to the shops. They give them priority delivery slots, and their response to actually keeping people fed has been far more telling, I think, for most people than anything that the government's done on a day-to-day basis, up until people have started getting their money for furlough and that sort of stuff. Clearly, that's a huge thing. Before that happened, if the supermarkets hadn't absolutely got their shit together, which they did unbelievably quickly, and I'm no fan of big multinational corporations, but people like Tesco just got their shit together so quickly. It was...
So they like doubled their delivery slots, didn't they, in like a week?
Yeah, it's incredible. I was really impressed. But no, I hope you're right. I hope people do retain a bit of a spirit of kindness and togetherness after this, because otherwise it all sort of feels like it's been for nothing.
Yeah. Go back to fighting each other.
Yeah.
I think it's shown us as well that, you know, we can do this, and all those little problems that you think are big in what would be pre-coronavirus day-to-day life, they're not that big really, are they? Like, it's not the end of the world, like if you can't get a new outfit. And as well, what I do think is really beneficial is people have realised you don't actually need A&E for 80% of your problems.
I know.
And if nothing else, if people take forward that they probably don't need to go to A&E because they've got an eyelash in their eye, or, you know, something trivial like that, then that will be a big favour to the NHS.
Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah, let's hope that continues, because that's got to be, those A&E doctors have got to be about the only people who are less stressed now than they were before. Although I suppose they've all been seconded to ICU, haven't they?
But yeah, like, so A&E, like, I think on our local A&E, so on a Saturday night, they would normally have about 60 patients in. I think within the first week of the lockdown on that Saturday, they had 6.
Amazing.
So that's like a 90% reduction in the flow of people into A&E. Not that I'm saying that people shouldn't go to A&E if they feel they need to.
No.
it just shines a light.
Party line,
Yeah, on the misuse of services, and you know, hopefully it will go some way to, when things do go back to normal, you know, we'll be able to save a bit of money and enhance the services that we do offer if we've not got to mop up the drunks and everything on a Saturday night.
I think, you know, obviously there are things that everybody misses, mainly people, I guess, but there are things that we all miss about, you know, the way life was. It's weird now. It's like, it's almost like the way it was and the way it is, and we're all sort of speculating what the way, how it might be. But there are definitely things I'm going to miss about the way it is now. Like, Rebecca is working from home, so she's here, she's seeing the kids. You know, I'm seeing more of her, they're seeing more of her. That's super nice. So there are definitely things I'm going to miss when things go back to normal. Is there anything you think actually I'm going to miss the way this is?
Yeah. So what's been the biggest thing for us is the kind of like shifting in focus with regard to the kids is like, so at school they're not focusing on SATs, they're not focusing on like how well the kids are performing in maths, English, and everything like that. They're doing things like, my kids came home the other day and they've been doing sewing at school. So like little things like that they wouldn't have ever had the opportunity to do if they were following the national curriculum. Or they did yoga at school the other day, and people have kind of, even the ones that are homeschooling, even the ones that aren't going to school, they've shifted away from what should I be doing to what can I do that makes me feel happy, or what can I do that makes my children feel better mentally. So this drive towards, actually, it doesn't matter how well you do academically, it's how happy you are when you come out of school at the end of the day.
Yeah.
That is what I will miss the most. Like, we teach our children how to read, we teach them how to write, we teach them Latin, but you know, we don't teach them how to live in a state of happiness. You know, we don't teach them that stress is a natural part of life, and actually if you come home and you talk to someone about it, or you know, you sit and you meditate, for argument's sake, for 10 minutes, or you just sit and have 10 minutes alone time, or run yourself a bath, do some sort of self-care, that, you know, that's going to make you a million times happier than learning how to do long division rule.
Yeah. Amen to that. There's nothing I can add to that. That's a perfectly pitched message, and I completely agree. So yeah, I hope whoever watches what kids are doing takes something away from that, and the curriculum is changed accordingly.
Yeah.
Or just thrown out, and just let kids be kids, you know, up to a point. Reading's kind of handy, but when has anyone who really, really, really hates geography then gone on to be a geography teacher? You know, if kids don't want to do humanities and shit like that, don't force them to do it. Let them do something useful.
Exactly, and they're not all good at everything, are they? And I think it's so sad that, you know, the children that are good at English and are good at maths feel like a success, and the children that may be good at art or yoga or sewing or Latin,
whatever,
feel like a failure at the age of like 8, 10.
I know, it's ridiculous. And I think there's a huge. Sorry, I said I wasn't going to expand on it, but it's such an interesting conversation that I think there's a huge case to make for kids at whatever age being given the choice, or being having the opportunity to sort of say, actually, I don't want to follow the academic curriculum. Yes, we need everyone to be literate. Clearly, that's useful, and for people to have enough numeracy to be in control of their personal finances. But then teach maths through the lens of personal finance, as opposed to algebra, quadratic equations, differential equations that 99.9% of the general population are never going to use again. And like you said, teach people life skills: how to cook, how to garden, how to do fucking laundry, how to do DIY, you know, how to run a household, whether you're a male or a female. Teach people useful stuff. If they're not going to be pursuing an academic career, why force square pegs into round holes so relentlessly? It just doesn't make any sense to me. And I know some people that were my peers at school who struggled academically, and they've done brilliantly well because they had a personality, and then they had a passion, and they had intellect in an area that enabled them to follow that passion and be really successful in that. But for years and years and years, they felt stupid.
Yeah, because they failed at one thing. Like, why can't we normalise that? Why can't we normalise failing? Why is failing seen as such a negative and a terrible thing in society? Like, we're all going to fail at some point in our life. Like, we can't all be good at everything. I can't do quantum physics. But so me and the girls have a
hard thing there though. Like that's some high. That's not like low hanging fruit there. That's super high. If you're only failing is not being able to do quantum physics. You're doing all right.
I can't dive either, for love nor money.
What, into a pool?
Yeah, can't dive.
Now that's more of a failing. So we can all get on that one. But
Completely inept at that. But so me and the girls have a saying. So obviously they're mega into gymnastics. So we always say, fail, try again, fail better the next time. As long as you're gonna fail in life. So why because someone can't do one particular thing, for argument's sake, maths or English, do they have to live the rest of their life feeling inadequate?
I completely agree. Do you enjoy being a nurse? Do you love being a nurse?
I like nursing is an odd one. So it's quite like, I always say, and people always recoil in horror when I say this, I'm always like, nursing is selfish. It's an emotionally selfish job, because I don't earn loads of money. I have worry about bills. Like, my kids know when I get the payday every single day, because I'm always like, mummy might get it on payday, but every single day that I go to work, I know that I make an impact on somebody's life. Like, I never have to sit at home of an evening and be like, oh, if I died, would it have an impact on somebody's life? Did I make a difference? Because I make a difference every single day. And like I say, sometimes it's not earth shattering. It's not bringing someone back from a cardiac arrest. Sometimes it's just a simple question, or remembering something that a patient told me before and having a chat about that, or walking down the corridor with an elderly man and pretending we're walking down the beach or something, or dancing with somebody because they're a bit sad and they miss their family, or putting the radio on. Like, so I never ever have to question whether my life has made an impact, because you touch somebody's life every single day that you go to work. So from that point of view, I absolutely love it, and you wouldn't get that in any other career at all. But I always say, if my children turned around to me and said that they wanted to be a nurse, that I would say they weren't allowed to, because the pressure and the mental burden and the emotional burden of what you have to give to other people, you can earn 10 times what a nurse earns and give less of yourself, like, to your job and everything like that. Like, nursing, it's not a job, it's a lifestyle. It takes over, it's a way of life, like, takes over your entire way of life. And you're either born to nurse, or, in my opinion, you're not born to nurse. It's a rare breed of human that goes into nursing and enjoys nursing. So as much as I love it and there is benefits of it for me, I wouldn't want my children to do it.
That's really interesting. And I think overwhelmingly on behalf of me and everyone who's watching, thank you for doing what you do, and doing it for a largely grateful public, but a particular an indifferent political faculty, and not much money. It's a huge thing that you're doing, and like I said, those small things are huge things to the people that are receiving them. So a genuine hero, and I hope that you and your colleagues at least feel that a little bit at the moment, maybe more than you do in a normal.
I don't think any nurses want to be a hero. I think we're all quite like, just leave us alone in our own little bubble, we're fine. Like, which I think the public find weird. Like, as lovely as it is, and as heartwarming and as humbling as it is, that people see us as heroes and everything like that, I would say the majority of us, we don't want to be heroes. We just want to go to work and make a difference in people's lives. And if that makes us heroic, then so be it. But that's secondary to us just wanting to help other people.
Yeah, well, we've got our rainbow up in the window, and
we've got 4.
we consider you a hero, Zoe. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Do you see yourself in nursing forever? 5 years, 10 years?
The job I've got at the minute, I absolutely love, because I have a really, really nice work-life balance. And I work with some incredible people. It's not often you go from doing a minute's silence for all the healthcare workers that have died to laughing within 20 seconds, So I work with a great team. Can't say whether I will do it for the rest of forever. I can't see physically how somebody could do it up to the age of 75, because it is so not only just physically demanding, obviously on an older person, but it's so mentally and emotionally demanding. You know,
for those people that have got like Fitbits or equivalent, you did 16,000 steps in one day at work.
Yeah.
That's like 10 miles.
It's a good job because people bring in free cake quite a lot. So, but yeah, so if you think, you know, a 75-year-old doing 16,000 steps, 9 to 5, Monday to Friday.
Yeah, I can do 16,000 steps and I'm 36. So yeah, no chance of 75.
And like the physical burden as well. Like when I worked in the hospital and I was doing night shifts and, you know, 12-hour night shifts, 13-hour day shifts, I basically started getting rickets because I didn't see daylight. And I was, you know, 25-year-old healthy individual, not a, you know, 50, 60-year-old elderly person.
That's like one step down from scurvy in the list of like piratical / made up sounding illnesses, isn't it? Like if you've got rickets or scurvy, you've got like a Victorian illness essentially.
Yeah, like I thought they were wiped out, and then I went to the doctors and I was like, all my joints hurt, and I keep getting cramp, and they were like, yeah, you've basically got the start of rickets. So
Jesus, yeah, well, thank God you're in a slightly less brutal environment there, but you know, big appreciation to all the people that still doing that and dicing with rickets and all the other
rickets and corona.
Horrible trials of that job.
Thank you.
Brilliant. Well, thank you. Yeah, thanks so much for coming on and talking to me, Zoe. It's been a real pleasure for me personally getting to know a little bit about your background, and I'm sure everyone that watches will absolutely love you and be really appreciative for what you're doing. So
thanks for letting me have a little ramble and a rant.
Bye, Zoe.